Everyone, it's a time of year where we talk about goals and set new year ones for the new year. And it's going to be low-key. I'm in my second week of vacation. I'm starting to sleep better. I still worry about work almost daily, and I'm tempted to go in to the office and do some things. That's an issue that probably needs to be dealt with, but can't do anything about it. I'm scatterbrained still, so we're having a low-key chat and trying to do the best of the situation. Make the best of the situation. See? Grammar gone. Anyways, let's start with bookish goals. Because 2022 was a great reading year for me, but I didn't really set myself goals. As you remember, I vaguely had the normal tracking things that I do. I track translations, I track rereads, I track sequels. Currently, I track if I start a series, or I also track German authors, because one of my intentions is always to read more German authors. I'm already bad at that. But those are the things I'm tracking. I'm roughly tracking the amount of unique authors I'm reading by gender, but clearly, roughly, I'm not going into deep research for that. So I didn't set myself any specific goals of what to read this year, and that had me roaming all over. So looking at some stats, overall, I'm quite happy with my reading, but the final stats will not be until the end of December because I'm hoping to finish a few things. Still, maybe. I may reach about 120 books, and I will have read about 90 unique authors, with a little bit more leaning to the female side. So what I mean by unique authors is if I read multiple books by one author, I only count that author once. Granted, I didn't screw up my stats, which I probably did, because when I look at the German books that I read, or German authors, I try to read more German authors because I tend to feel like I should, but I never really like most of them. So it's very difficult for me. But there are still tons of classics I haven't read, so going for those probably in the future more. Because this year I only read 4 German authors. I didn't pay that much attention to it, so I think this is going to be a goal for next year. And when I look at the nonfiction books, I actually read 24 classics or modern classics. I'm only at 11 translations, though. I'm at 20 so far. Rereads with 16 is also good. And I actually managed to read 17 sequels without paying too much attention to that. So I guess that's good. But then again, I started 10 new series. So maybe I just read all the sequels in that. Who knows? When we look at the tendency of overall length for the books I'm reading, I'm at about 240 pages, which is a little bit more than last year, but not much. And it will not get higher if I keep going for short books when busy. So I guess it's understandable where it comes from, but I don't know if I like it. When it comes to audiobooks, I really decreased the length. Last year I was about 520 minutes per book, or on average, and this year it's about 430 minutes. I listen to a lot of short books, so not sure. The split between listening and reading is about 50-50 again, so that's okay for me. I listen to a lot, but I noticed that I listened to a lot more last year, especially when it comes to minutes and in total, and I wondered how that is until I remembered that last year I was running a lot more. Like, I went on 2-hour-long runs every Saturday for the summer, and this year, if you remember, I haven't been running much. So skipping out on walking a lot also didn't help my audiobook consumption. So 54 is not so bad, but that also explains why it's just 430 minutes on average with that high number. Anyways, that's the stats. Okay, so what do we do with these stats? And with the idea that I read without goals. I can tell that without specific goals to achieve something, I still read a lot of translations. I still read a variety of books from different countries. I try to read less from America, but it's still probably half the books I read were from America. But I read quite a few different countries. I also don't need to really put an effort in to read more nonfiction or force myself to do that, because that was 24 a good percentage of my reading. What I would like to have read more of is classics or modern classics and German authors. So I wasn't really paying attention for that, and I didn't really have a list of books or a set goal for that. So I'm thinking that maybe I need to put a number on that. That will help me forward. But then again, I don't really like strict numbers, because who knows how many books I'm going to read next year. My yearly goal is going to be the 70 Goodreads goal that I always set myself, because it's 1.5 books a week, which I think is doable, especially if it's not a 100-page book. But the 120 is quite a high number, so I'm not sure if rooting for high numbers in averages or in books that I want to achieve in certain categories is a good idea. I'm thinking of trying to read a book by a German author every month, so that I would come up to 12 authors, which I think I would like to have read, even if it's the same author and I read more books by them. But that's a thing I think is doable, and that could work with the reading without being too overly limiting. The same with classics. I think I keep having this list of books I want to have read in my mind, but that's where it is, in my mind, and I never really write it down, and I don't really buy the books or add them to my wish lists for that matter. So I already started ordering some of the books I always say I want to read but never do, and I think for the first quarter I want to go with the goal to really make that list, to make a list of what books, classics I keep seeing and thinking to myself, I want to read that. So one of those is The White Sargasso, and I think that's a title. I just ordered it for the first time, but I've been meaning to read that for ages. And I noticed with having a low TBR and being able to read whatever I want, or just buy whatever I want and then exactly read it, that I need to put the books that I want to read down and write them down, put them somewhere so that I can pick from them. So that is a goal for the first quarter, to set up this list, a list of classics that I actually do want to read, and then see how that helps me in achieving that goal for the rest of the year. But to write that list, that's the goal for the first quarter. I'm doing quarterly goals again a little bit, I think, because I want to have goals, but I don't want to have them overly long and unachievable or so broadly that I don't really know how to track them. So with reading a German author per month, that's an okay goal on the yearly stretch. But I also thought with reading the classics that I always say I want to read, also comes another goal of reading authors I always mean to read more by of. And I have at the top of my head right now Jennifer Egan, Catherine M. Valente, and Gabrielle Seven. I always want to read more by them, but I never do. So for the first quarter, I also want to read at least one of their other books than the ones I've read. By some Jennifer Egan, I only read A Visit to the Goon Squad years ago. And I keep meaning to read more, but I never do. So that is a goal for the first quarter, to read more books by those 3 authors. Another thing I became aware of this month, listening to Terry Pratchett's biography, was that I started my reread of the Discworld series before I started this channel. We started together with the second book, The Light Fantastic. I'm currently 12 years later on book 28. That is taking way too long. So I've decided that next year, 2023, is going to be the year I finish my reread of the Discworld novels. So that's 13 more novels, a little bit more than one a month. I'm giving myself the whole year for that. So maybe I'm going to have to read 4 books in December, who knows. But that is the goal, to finish all the leftover Discworld novels that I have not reread. I've read them all at least once, and I think for the later ones that came out after 2011, when I started this channel, I've already videos up, but there are quite a few that we haven't even talked about and that I have read only once. Like all of the ones that are coming now, I've read only once. So quite looking forward to that goal. And I also noticed that I need that number goal and that time pressure to actually do it. So there goes that. Goals need to be a little bit more specific to help you do them. But you also want to have some freedom, or at least I do. So summing up, I have the yearly goal of reading a German author a month and finishing my Discworld series reread. I have the first quarter goal of reading books by Jennifer Egan, Catherine M. Valente, and what did I say? Gabrielle Zevin. I also have the goal to set up a list of classics I've always been meaning to read and actually start reading some of them, or at least buying them or adding them to my wish list so that I can say, I have read them. For most of them, it's just I want to have them read. Some I enjoy, some I'm just like, yeah, glad I have read it. But still, that's the goal. Not too much, but achievable. And I'm hoping that reading next year will be just as good and much fun as it was this year. And that takes us to the life goals. Now, looking back at 2022, things didn't go according to plan, which is sort of okay. I'm not completely bummed out about it because I know where it comes from. Looking back, everything went downhill since April when my colleague retired and I got sick and had surgery. So I've been trying to recover my health and work for two people ever since. We're still understaffed, we still have too much work, things are not going great at work, which is taking a lot of energy from me. And I really notice how much I need that to change now that I'm on vacation and have time to think. I'm also okay and aware with what I may have done better and where I failed myself. So looking at 2023, I want to change things a little bit. I don't really want to give myself goals. I'm more thinking of a theme for the year. Recently, I've been thinking of myself of being a mess and not getting anything done. Things I know I could do or things that were easier for me in the past, and a lot of things have to do with the job and with the stress at the job, but also with the pandemic. So I kind of made a mind map of what I want 2023 to look like more, or what I want to do in 2023. And at the center, we have stop being a mess, because that is a goal. I don't want to feel like this complete mess all the time who's not in control of herself and lets others derail her easily. That happened a lot at work lately, and I was not the kind of person that I would like to be. Let's say it like that, and not that I made students cry and shouted at them. That's not the person I like to be, but that's the person I was. Let's say stressed. So the goal overall, I guess, is also to have more fun and be less stressed. And one part for me in that is also to try and keep things clean and tidy again. When we started 2022, I was rather good at that again, but then everything spiraled and derailed and nothing's quite okay. I keep stacking papers everywhere and never putting them away if I open my letters at all. And yeah, I've gotten way too comfortable with dust everywhere. So that needs to change, and I want to get back into a proper cleaning and tidy routine. So hopefully I'm going to clean before January so that I have a fresh, clean slate to start from. When we look at other goals, one failing or problem I have is eating properly and enough. I am good at making myself lunches for work and taking them, but I don't eat often enough during the day, and I often fill my calorie deficit with chocolate, which I don't mind particularly, but I'm pretty sure it's not the healthiest way to go, and that might affect my stress levels or my resilience levels, which haven't been great lately, or overall my energy levels in general. So I'm trying to eat less chocolate and look into meal prep more. The idea there is that I have healthy snacks around, or easy things to eat that are not overly relying on processed foods and instant food and convenient food in chocolate. So I have no idea where to look. So if you have a good meal prep channel or vlogger, whatever, that you can recommend, just leave them down there, because that's the first goal for the first quarter, is to find sources or resources to really get into this, so that I will eat more regularly and more proper meals instead of just relying on the cafeteria and the next chocolate vending machine. So that's one thing that needs to change. Eat more and better. That sounds weird. Eating better is also connected to the exercise goal. So it's not really a specific goal that I have, but I've noticed that I'm struggling to get back into shape ever since I've had COVID in April. And part of it is being overworked and too busy. So that is a part, but also I am more exhausted. I'm out of breath faster. Running isn't going so well. I keep getting muscle ache whenever I work out. And I've been skipping quite a lot on my morning routine exercise. So I want to get back into a proper morning routine exercise rhythm that I had before, which includes cycling, running 3 times a week, strength exercises, and Sundays is going to be for cleaning, so a rest day sort of. But I want to try and go for that half hour in the morning before work after getting up, which is a sweet spot for me to exercise and to get better into that rhythm of mixing endurance exercises with strength workouts. And for that, I'm still going for the Heather Robertson channel, which has accompanied me throughout the whole pandemic. And recently I've been going for 10-minute Tabata workouts, which is better than nothing. But I would like to get to half an hour of strength workout, total body workouts again. So that is one of the exercise goals, which will hopefully work well with the meal prep goals, because the more I exercise, the more I need to eat. And I'm also hungry for proper food or more food or bigger portions. So let's see how that works out. The other 3 things I wrote down on my mind map are more connected to personal attitude, I don't know, or the things that I feel where I'm most messed up. One of them is that I keep starting things but not finishing them, especially when I'm talking about series or ideas and projects that I have, but I don't finish them. I have commitment issues in some way that I want to finish them, I want to do them, and I enjoy them, but I don't do it. So one thing for me is to not put off watching the last episodes of a show or the next episode of a show I enjoy, or picking up that next book in a series much faster than just thinking like, yeah, I'll do that later. Especially for the ones that are already finished, that all the books are available, that I really put an effort into finishing and following up. Among that is also my Korean learning. You remember that I started in 2021 with Korean in the summer because I just wanted to do something that is unrelated to everything and has no real purpose in work or anything, where there is a gain that has an end, but just was something I wanted to do randomly, to do something differently. And I started with the Pimsleur courses, which was the best fit for me in the way of learning, as I could do it outside while I was walking. But when the courses ended, I struggled, and I kind of was free floating a little bit, where I wanted to connect and add on with the experience, but I didn't find anything that wasn't related to sitting at a computer. And my problem with the sitting at a computer after work is I work 10 hours on a computer. I don't want to sit and study and stare at a screen, at a computer screen, to focus again after work. I'm not really good at that. So I ended up in April more or less using Duolingo, mostly as a way of practicing and keeping in touch, but fastly realizing that I'm not learning it much. I feel like I'm treading water and I'm not moving forwards, but rather regressing a little bit. But also I noticed that with the amount of energy I had at the time, it was the best way for me to deal with that. But I am not enjoying it as much as I want to. So 2023 is going to be the year where I want to see if I'm going to continue with that. Because the way I'm doing Duolingo is not helping. I'm not progressing. I am looking into maybe rocket languages. I saw a post where that was one of the best ways suggested. There's a free trial month, I think, available, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that because I have no idea how that thing works. So no idea if I need an app, if I need to do it on the computer, if it's structured as lessons, if that would work out with my life in general. Because one thing is clear, work is not going to change anytime soon. We still are lacking people. There's not a big change coming. The big change that was supposed to come in September has been postponed to April, so the project or the reorganization of the department is not moving as fast as it should. So I will have to keep my position with the work I'm currently doing probably until April not next year, 2024. And so I cannot rely on having more time and brain space next year too much. So one thing though that I want to do is figure out next year if I am making progress or if I want to just abandon Korean learning, which would be sad because I kind of enjoy it, but since I'm not making progress, it is just another chore instead of something I do for fun. So I am not sure how to do that. I think for the first quarter, the goal there is to figure out what this rocket languages is, how that works, and give that trial months ago, and then take it from there. But that's one of the things where I'm aiming for when I say I want to finish things faster or abandon them. Because it doesn't help if I have about 15 projects lying around, but never do them. Then maybe I should just say, I'm not going to do them. That's a new thing I want to try. Also, with going out more and doing stuff, I've noticed that since the pandemic and with this job in general, I've reduced circle of friends. Let's say it like that. Quite a few people disappeared with the job because I have different time opportunities, and a lot of my friends were through the job and they either moved or you don't see each other at work, and then it just turns out you're more work friends that have fun and can go out sometimes, but not your friends that you keep over time, which is okay. I guess that's what happens to everyone. You have people you're close with at some point in your life and then you move on. With others, I notice that I haven't been making much of an effort and they haven't either, so it's a little bit more complicated also with the situation we are in life where I'm tired after work, and when I get off work and I maybe have an hour or two where I'm like, yeah, this is a time where we could do something, it's usually when they have family time. So I need to work that out. I also want to go out and do stuff more on my own again. I used to do that all the time. I'm very good at going out with myself, but I haven't been doing that either due to energy levels. But I also noticed that my social anxiety has gone up quite a lot during the pandemic, and that me not really interacting with people, even though I enjoy being alone and don't mind and don't feel lonely, I think it's not the healthiest thing to do. So the goal there, or the aim, is to go on adventures, do stuff, maybe go on a trip, go on a tour or something. I don't know yet, but the idea generally is to be more active outside of my home again. And the last one is framed a little bit weird, own your wins. I didn't know really how to put that, but the general idea is that I often feel guilty for the things I'm good at. Like all of this, all the goals I'm having and the things I want to do really work with habits. I'm really good at building habits and getting back into habits that I have had or starting again. I've been trying and working with habits for so long that I think one of my strongest habits is to get back up and start over. So that I need to embrace a little bit more. I need to embrace that I'm not this failure and this mess I'm thinking sometimes that I am because I can't do things properly at the moment, but more that I look at it from the side of what I have achieved instead of what I wanted to achieve and didn't, because we all know I have too high expectations of myself in general. But be more proud of what I do. I find it hard to call because I think online I am very good at owning my wins and achievements. But when it comes to people in general, I always get this notion back that I'm bragging or showing off or that they're not interested. And I need to get better at seeing the difference there if they don't care, or actually share what I like and enjoy. Because I've noticed that with this job, I spend a lot of my time with people that actually have not the same interests as me and are people I would not hang out with otherwise. And that has never been the case before in other jobs, because that were more creative jobs, or rather jobs people did on the side while they had other interests. And this job is like the typical admin office job that you hear the stereotypes of. And yeah, I'm lacking creativity and context to talk about with colleagues sometimes. So I'm trying to see if just me accepting more what I'm good at is going to change that. It's more a way of personal feeling, I guess. I have no idea how to call that. So summing up, life goals, not really specific ones, just basically getting better at being myself again and enjoying myself more, having more fun and doing more things, and not just giving in to work and being exhausted. I'll check in with you after the first quarter to see how things are going and if I want to add any more specific goals to the reading goals or to the life goals. Let's see. And until then, let me know how you're doing. Did you do well with your 2022 goals? Did you have any? Did you abandon? How was 2022? Did you get through it? We all made it through it. That's a win. We need to count that as a win. We're still here. That's an achievement. See, that's what I mean with owning my wins. Anyways, let me know how your year was and what you're setting out to do for 2023. If there's something you have in your mind that you want to achieve, or any big great changes that come your way next year that you need to tackle, let's talk goals in general. Thank you all for watching. Bye-bye.